Okay, so where did I cut out? Because I was yapping on as I often do, and then I didn't notice that I wasn't talking. So we were talking about. Okay, so I have some quotes that I like. Of course, uh, they're mostly from Ajahn Brahm. So there's a great quote, and I will link it. We look to the future and add negativity, and that is called fear. Fear does not exist. And the reason I say fear doesn't exist, because the future doesn't exist. Future is a concept of the mind. The human mind, the human brain is able to think of something like a future. We know from me yapping on about it a lot and from your practice that there is no such thing as the past, there's no such thing as the future. The future and the past are both in your mind. The only thing that exists is the present moment. So, if the future doesn't exist, if you are in the present moment, there is no fear. Because fear is looking to the future and adding negativity. Fear is me getting on that log that third time and thinking I'm gonna fall. Or thinking about my fall and thinking I don't want that to happen again. That's adding negativity, right? Whereas if I was able to get on there and totally mindful in the moment, it doesn't matter if the thing was over a 4,000 foot chasm. I would just walk across it like it was nothing, like I did the first two times. So, keep that quote, because that quote is a good quote for grounding you in the present. You know, my quote that I often do to ground myself in the present is, "The past is shadows and dust. The future is shifting and uncertain. There is only the present moment, and here now I am standing." That's my quote to ground myself in the present moment. That quote from Ajahn Brahm is basically the same thing. We look to the future and add negativity. That is called fear. So when you know that you're looking to the future, you can bring yourself back to the present moment. So, the only thing that we have to fear is not being in the present moment, not fear itself. That tells you that FDR was not a Buddhist. The only thing we have to fear is not being in the present moment. As a matter of fact, I just made that up and I want to write that down so I remember. So there you go. Okay, I wrote it down in my little. For those of you who are in your practice, uh, if you have, I have a file, and the file is called Buddhist Buddhist insights that I found to not forget, and so stuff like that, I write down. Oh, Kari, yes. Ajahn Brahm, evil. I'll get to your question in a second. Evil. A cut. Okay, Ajahn Brahm is he's an Englishman who became a monastic in Thailand about 30 some odd years ago, and for the last 25 years he's been in Australia, and I think he and, or at least I should say, the Buddhist Society of Western Australia has been the forerunner of putting Dhamma talks on the internet. So you can basically go on their channel on YouTube and see every Dhamma talk that's ever been taught on a Friday night since about 2007, somewhere's around there. So, yeah. Oh, you guys are googling them already? I think the YouTube channel is Buddhist Society WA. You can also go to my channel, and I have basically every video I've ever watched of his linked in a playlist, which is about 100 videos, somewhere's around there. Yeah, I'll send that. I'll get that right to you. Here they are. Kiri, I don't know if if you follow a specific tradition or not. I don't think it really would matter. But go to DhammaTube channel on YouTube. They got about 1,000 videos, mostly from monastics. Mostly Theravadan, but they do have some other stuff as well. And for those interested, that is my channel there. I record these talks and put them on there and do a few things, but mostly I use it as a Buddhist resource. I have playlists from everybody from Ajahn Chah, Bhikkhu Bodhi, Ajahn Brahm, Bhante G, Venerable Yuta Dhammo, and all videos and stuff like that. And a lot of different links, like there's a Pali chanting guide link, access to insight stuff, Pali Word of the Day, Bhavana Society, all kinds of good stuff. So, for those interested. Now, let's continue. So, where were we at here? We were talking about Ajahn Brahm. Ajahn Brahm has been solved. So, let's go back to what Evil was saying. Why are we so equipped to not be in the present then? Why are we so averse to it? It's a good question. It's a different topic in a way, but I'll attempt to answer it fairly quickly. We are not in the present moment because of our delusion. And you've heard me say it a billion times. Greed, anger, greed, hatred, and delusion. We're not in the present moment because we don't want to be. We want to think about nice things that'll happen in the future. We want to think about how we're going to get those nice things. We want to think about how our life is going to be. If you really start to observe your mind, you see that. And of course, then, when we start to think about how good our life can be, we start to think about how bad our life can be. My spouse can leave me. My spouse can die. I can die alone. I cannot find anybody. I can die in a car crash. I can't get on a plane. The plane will crash. And so it's all thoughts of the future. And it's how our mind, well, technically it is. Technically, it's the clouded mind. It's the mind clouded by delusion. I don't know. You might have heard me talk about the my insight on into the lighthouse. Um, One of the things I say is that the mind is like a lighthouse that is covered with like mud or gunk, where as the light's going around, you can maybe see one ray or two rays, just very, very little. You can't see the full lighthouse. The ships are crashing onto the shore. Everything is going all chaos and haywire. But the mind of an enlightened person, the mind of an arhat, there is no dirt at all. It shines bright as the sun. And I believe there is a sutta where this Buddha says something like that. Those who follow the path shine bright as the sun, or something like that. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But I mean, in a way, it is a defect. I don't know if it's probably good to think of it as that way, because that's negative. But yeah, I mean, what you're doing. Think about bhavana meditation is what is practice. What you're doing is retraining the mind. You are retraining the mind. You are letting go and retraining. So as you're able to do that, less and less your mind will go to the future. Less and less your mind will worry about the future. Less and less your mind will think about, well, I don't know. I don't know necessarily if it is technically a survival technique. I mean, I guess it can be. I mean, if you have the imagination, the ability to think about fears, think about things that happen in the future, if you use that positively, you can use that to plan for the future. So, in a way, yeah, it can kind of be something that's good if you know how to use it right. Or you can have it totally control you and paralyze you. So, in a way, in some aspects, fear can also be a good thing. But we don't want it to control us either. Just like with everything in our mind, fear is just a state of mind. It's a condition that has a cause, and we just observe it, and objectively, right? No judgments on the fear. So let's see. Is it negative to think I will die alone anyway? Everyone does. You mean like how basically in Buddhism we know that death, nobody can have your death for you or share your death, that basically everything you do in life really is alone? You can look at that negative if you're looking at it with a wrong view. If you're looking at it as a matter of fact, then there is no objective aspect to it. There's no judgment to it. It's a matter of fact. The sun rises. One day the sun won't rise. Yeah. So it's not necessarily negative to think that, no. Let's see, did I miss? I'm trying to just see if I can. Well, just real quick, just that you say, why are we averse to it? Evil. Because the present is boring most of the time. What are we doing? We're on long drives. We're bored on the long drive. We're at work. We're bored at work. We don't want to deal with the present moment because we want to think about cool. It brings me back to my past again as a child in church. I was bored as the people who know my history, they know that from the beginning it just never fit me. But I would be in church, right, and I'd be bored, and you know what I would start to think? I would start to think, okay, what would happen if a squad of terrorists came in? People busted through the thing, they busted through the windows, and I would daydream about how what I would do, like James Bondish, like how I would take one out and do it and like sneak around and do all this kind of stuff, right? I didn't want to be in the present moment because I had an aversion to it. So I started daydreaming. I started thinking about the future. I started thinking about things that could possibly happen in some crazy bizarro world, or just things that to occupy my mind. So it's a mechanism that we use to basically keep the phrase going, ignorance is bliss. It's a method that we use to keep the bliss of ignorance. But some of us want to, that we have a dispassion for that, and there's no point. It's like the blue pill or the red pill. You want to keep taking keeping the ignorance of bliss. You stick with the blue. If you want to see the truth, even though it's hard, even though it's not going to be as purple. You know what? Of all the years I've talked about the blue and the red pill, I've never once heard that somebody say that. That's a genius, smart ass answer. Something I should have said years ago. I love it. Ay, ay, ay. There's always a middle way. There's always a middle path, right? There's always a third option. And apparently purple is the third option. Considering purple and black are my favorite colors, I might want to take the... Same thing with me. But did you know that sarcasm is actually of anger? I didn't realize that until a couple years ago. So even though if you become a sarcastic smartass, that's really anger. Yeah. And when that was told to me by my therapist, I thought to myself, and I started to think of it through a Buddhist perspective, and I'm like, holy crap, it really is. Take Nexium. It's a lively bunch here today. I love it. Now this is how the talk should be. Okay. So let's see. I think there was another quote that I wanted to... Oh yes, also by Ajahn Brahm. So here is... Actually, it's a couple quotes that I put together. If you find yourself fearful, bring yourself back to the present moment. Now see, I was too fearful. I wish I had that phrase with me while I was on that log again, because I didn't even think about it. I was just too overwhelmed with fear to try to gently nudge my mind back to the present moment. Oh, by the way, just as an aside, I went back on that log 3 times total after, and each time I went back on, it was a little bit less fear, but the fear was still there. The shakiness was still there. So next time I go back in a couple months, I'm gonna jump right on that log and hopefully not have to go to the hospital. But that's thinking of the future and putting negativity in the future, right? That's bad. Well, but no objection. No. Yes, my legs shake on paddle boards. So if you find yourself fearful, bring yourself back to the present moment. Here now, I am standing. The the future is when I'm doing walking meditation and I try to bring myself back to the future or back to the present. You know what the future is? Me lifting my foot up for the next step. That's the future. So yeah, 0.00000 microseconds from now is the future. Exactly. That is the future. The future is not when I'm doing my walking meditation before work. You can think, and I start to think about work. That's the future. That's 15 minutes away, 20 minutes away. But you know what? That's a distant future. That's a real distant future. If you're in mindfulness. So, not only do I try to bring myself to the present before work, but before that next step. That next step is the future. So yeah, 0.0000001 microseconds. Your future is being made in the present moment. So bring yourself back to the present when you have fear. The reason why fear pushes you into the I remember where this from. Ajahn Brahm was talking about fear in this one talk, and you can see it if you want to look up. It says, "Why not us?" And it was at the 37-minute mark. Actually, if you see the little parentheses, he talks about the. I guess there was a show. I think it was the Kung Fu show from back in the '60s, and the young person was going through the Kung Fu training, and part of the training was he had to walk across this thing, and under it was all acid, so if he fell he died. So for many months as his training progressed, he would see the acid, he would see, and he would be all in fear. So when he did it, he fell, and he's like, "Oh, I'm good, I'm done." But you know what it was? It was just water. So that fear that fear is what threw him off. That fear is what hurt me. That fear is what made me wobble on that. So the fear is such a controlling and strong force that it's dangerous. So, fear is the cause of control. That's another good one. Fear is the cause of control. If we have no fear, we have not worrying about that we're going to lose somebody or lose something, so we don't have to control the situation. So if there is no fear, there is nothing to control. Bye, Equilibrium. Thank you for coming. The fear causes you to do exactly what you feared about. Fear leads to control, and control is the biggest enemy of letting go. I would start your little text file, Buddhist Insights to Not Forget, and then put those in there. I'll probably get this video up in sometime in the next couple days on my channel as well. Crash, that's a good one. I don't remember. I remember Dragon Ball Z, but I don't remember that one specifically. But yeah. Ah, okay. Oh, I forgot. I knew there was something else I wanted to talk about. Eva might have heard me talk about this before. Again, I heard it from Ajahn Brahm. He's where I get so much of my material. But he's helped me change, my life so much, and enhance my practice so much that I consider him a teacher. But the story is not from Ajahn Brahm, but it's a story that he used. It's called The Donkey in the Well. And basically the story is that there's this farmer and this donkey. The donkey falls down the well and gets trapped. The farmer is like, "Oh, I wanted to get rid of the donkey anyway. I'm not going to get him out. I couldn't get him out. I'd have to bring people over, machines, and this and that, yada, 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 to get this donkey out of the well. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to bury it. Bury the donkey and forget about it." How much do we bury stuff we want to, and we just forget about things, right? So the farmer and starts digging, throwing dirt down on the well because he wants to fill in the well. And what does the donkey start doing? The donkey starts squealing and screaming, and Because obviously the donkey's like, holy crap, I'm stuck in a well, I'm gonna die. This farmer's trying to kill me. So the farmer keeps, putting the dirt in, putting the dirt in, putting the dirt in, putting the dirt in. And all of a sudden, he looks up, and there's the donkey's head over the well. What had the donkey done? Instead of fear, the donkey decided, you know what? Every time he throws more dirt, I pack it down and I get higher. So as the farmer started throwing in the dirt, he kept packing, kept packing, kept packing, and then he's able to get out. So that is a huge lesson for us in life. We know, and you know what, as you practice, even if you know that fear is bad, fear is something that is skillful. Fear is something that harms us. You're still gonna have fear. But the trick is, what do we do with that fear? Observe it objectively. What do we do in the present moment? I'm in this situation. It's an emergency. Something's happened. Do we fear? Do we have anxiety? Do we freeze because we don't know what to do? Or do we bring ourselves to that present moment and triage what we need to do and do it? That's what the donkey did. If the donkey just kept in the fear and the anxiety, he'd be buried in a well. But he was able to get out. Because he was able to take that situation and make the best of it. He created good karma right there by thinking about getting out of that situation in a positive manner. And since he was a good Buddhist donkey, when he got out, he gave metta to the farmer and he walked away. I don't know, I just added that last part. That was just but yeah, so that's a really, really good story as well. So I think that was all of the specific examples I wanted to use, but I just wanted to summarize in that what fear is us, exactly what Ajahn Brahm said, thinking about the future and adding negativity to it. Fear is something that does not exist other than in our own mind. Fear is something that is powerful. Fear is something that can control us. But fear is also something that we can also control. And not by forcing it, not by grabbing it, but by simply being able to practice, developing the ability, the skill to be in the present moment. The more you're in the present moment, the less fear you have. It's as simple as that. So, if when we have fears, don't feel bad for yourself. Don't say, oh, why are you afraid of the dark? That's stupid. Kids should do it. Why are you afraid of, germs on a doorknob? You know what just came into my head? You ever see that movie, What About Bob? If you haven't seen the movie What About Bob, I highly suggest it. You need to see it. with Bill Murray and what's the older guy's name? Baby steps, right? Baby steps. Richard Dreyfuss, that's right. So baby steps works perfect for meditation as well. When it comes to fear, baby steps. Practice objectively. The more you practice, the easier it is. It is a great movie. I own it. Actually, I think it's one of those things I need to see. I haven't seen it in a bunch of years, but it has a good message. So I'm not sure if I've seen that one, but the ultimate goal when it comes to fear, forcing it out of our minds is not going to work. The more you practice, the less fear you have. Oh, no, I haven't seen that one. Okay, I know which one you're talking about now, though. The more you practice, the less anger you have, too. Because fear and anger, all of that comes from those three roots of greed, hatred, and delusion. They all come from that. Musa method. So, when you can, yeah, 100%. You kidding me? I think my first Buddhist teachers were two people. My first Buddhist teachers growing up as a kid, Yoda and Mr. Miyagi. Those were my two Buddhist teachers. Because what they said made sense to me. What they said fit my worldview. So you can bust out any Yoda anytime you want here. You can also bust out Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda, because he knows what he's talking about too. There is no news. There is no such thing as good or bad news. There is only news. So, okay. I guess unless there's any final comments or questions, we can end our discussion on fear. Remember, the only thing you have to fear is not being in the present moment. Actually, that might not be something good, because now I'm thinking about it, because then you're developing a phobia of not being in the present moment. You could take that really negatively. But if you take the quote on its right merit, then you can't fear what doesn't exist. Well, actually, technically, because we have an imagination, because we have a mind, you technically can. But if fear doesn't exist, then there's nothing to fear, right? Yes. Oh, believe me, I'm one of them. I am definitely one of them. I was the type of person that, in the middle of the woods, I can just start seeing all kinds of things. Like if I really wanted to imagine like an alien in front of me, I could probably do it in my mind, really to the point where I would probably like be very, very scared. I was gonna say pee myself, but I've never done that from fear. So, so yeah, no, I understand what you mean about the. Oh my God. Blair Witch Project. It's amazing what our mind can do. Man no pibunga, man no setta, man no maya. It's the beginning of the Dhammapada. Mind is the forerunner of all things. And when we know that, it's easier to know that these things that fear us, there's really nothing to fear. And that comes through practice. Simple as that. When we know that the mind is the forerunner, that all things come from mind, we know where they come from, we know their origin. And when we know their origin, we know about them. And when we know about something, we don't fear it, or we fear it less. What we fear most is fear of the unknown. right? Evil alien insect avatar. Yes. So, you know what? If you have lucid dreams of aliens chasing you, when you wake up, give metta to the aliens. That should help. That'll change your mind. Evil, did you ever see the movie Communion with what's his name? Well, uh, probably because you feared it your whole life. Because that's me. I feared it my whole life, and I saw a little bit of it when I was a teenager. And there's Christopher Walken in his room, and the door opens a little bit, and you see like a half alien face come like peek through the door. That stuff scared me for yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's a little bit too negative, Crash. It probably would come at you even more. But but yeah, no. What I would do is give metta. Oh, because Scientologists isn't that what they believe, that the alien or whatever, something like that. In all honesty, much of what I know from Scientology I learned from South Park, so it's not exactly the best. Not exactly Wikipedia, but yeah. For me, and I had this discussion over the weekend. I don't. It doesn't matter to me what people believe, as long as they don't infringe on others. People could be sitting in a corner talking to imaginary people all day and night. As long as they don't bother others, I don't care. So as long as the Scientologists ain't bothering anybody, it don't matter. Let them believe what they want to believe. And if more people were like that, there'd be a lot less issues in the world. Live and let live, right? Yeah. Yep.